As far as we can tell, he has no pain. He has these grimacing that's Parkinson's related. In other words, his face looks like he's in pain, but he really isn't.
There is no pain there. That's good.
It's just it's a neurological reaction.
See, we start talking about it, you start listening.
Yeah, oh yeah, no, and he will surprise you like crazy sometimes. We don't know. I mean, we don't have a way of knowing, and so we just assume he hears everything and is going on, as it should
He's
be.
trying for you.
Right.
That's great.
Okay. All right, so this is all 2 months plus prior.
Yes, right around 2 months. Am I in that thing? I can't tell. I guess I.
Okay, look what happened here. The most serious incident that caused me to ask for civil protection occurred on or about Jefferson crossed out. So there's no declaration of that. About 5 p.m. in Jefferson County. Well, it doesn't say when. If it's 5 years ago, but the fact that it's 2 months before that, she took no action. This is. We'll have 5 questions for her
I can tell you why she didn't take any action.
because.
Let me tell you quick and the short, a little long.
Yeah.
We're getting along fabulously. We're doing the family thing. We're going out to dinners and stuff. We're sleeping together. We're
Right.
raising Colin as close as you can and not live in the same house.
Right. Okay.
Okay? We're going to dinners. We're going to the stock show. We had Christmas together. We're doing all those things together.
Prior to this time, to this moment.
Yeah, up to this moment, everything's going fine. We're talking about, we're discussing renting a place together in Evergreen and living together.
Right. But Windsor was not discussed at the time.
Windsor was discussed 2 years ago, when we're driving around up here talking about all of our dreams.
So Windsor was discussed
Way prior.
way prior to this.
Yeah, years prior.
All right, got it.
So, we're being super lovey-dovey. She's
Yes.
treating me like a father, like a husband, like a boyfriend, whatever.
So it's a rational
It-
relationship.
Right. And on her coffee table, since the day I was first allowed, today she has a photo album, a
Yeah.
call.
Right.
And you open that and you see her at the hospital, you see her kind of, after the birth, and then and then you see her come home to Colin, and the first picture I see of my son is with James Griffin holding my son
Okay.
on her couch.
Right.
I have that picture. She doesn't know that.
Oh.
Okay? So even as we've made up, even as she tells me she's told him to go away because she needs to try to work this out with me, but that she won't discontinue talking to
But
me.
he's not living there then.
No, he's not living there. No, he's living 6 blocks away
Okay.
in a Bandito's basement. Because I've been threatened with the Banditos
I
dozens
see.
of times.
Right.
I know that's irrelevant.
Oh, it's not.
Well, yeah, she has threatened me with Banditos, cops, and friends over and over and over again.
Okay, we'll go into that because remind me to document that part of
The
it.
day she's talking about, we're doing great. I have taken the pictures off my phone, gone to a friend's house, and made a CD of all the pictures that I have taken of Colin.
Right.
And I want to show them to her. And it's got, I got my work on there too. I didn't separate them. I just had
Yeah.
jobs and stuff, and I'm proud of my work. She knows that. So she's on the phone, and I said, hey, I'm going to put this in and show you these pictures. Doesn't care. I've been on a computer for days on end. Every time I'm over there, I get on a computer doing something because I don't have one at my house.
All right.
She doesn't deny me. She doesn't care if I'm on the thing.
Right.
I drop it in there, go to run it. It comes up with, the little program that runs it. I push it, and it comes up with James Griffin holding my kid. And there's a whole file of it.
Mhm.
I didn't even go to the file. She's never phone. I started looking at that first picture. It says James with Colin. And I didn't even go in the file. I could have easily gone in that file and looked through all those pictures, but I didn't see any reason to torment myself anymore because I was desperately trying to fix this.
Yeah.
I obviously get upset because I get up, push away, walk out the door, go outside, trying to figure out how I'm going to deal with this.
Yeah.
She comes out the door and says, "What?"
Mhm.
I go back in and point at the computer screen.
Yeah.
She says, "The computer is like my diary. I have my whole life on there." I said, "Well, that's interesting because there ain't a picture of one of me on there, or my kid, our kid." And she's being very, she wants me not to get mad about this. She's being cool because she knows this.
Right.
That photo album is sitting on the coffee table. And she's saying, that's just the diary, that's the past, we need to focus. She's trying to suck up because she knows that I should never saw those pictures. She would have those pictures. And I picked the thing up and I said, even today, as we're here talking about living together and doing all this again, you still have pictures of that motherfucker holding my kid the first day he come home from the hospital, and I tossed it on the fucking coffee table and walked out. That's throwing things.
Right.
Then she comes out in the yard.
Right.
And still being apologetic, but not apologizing. And I flew off the handle, but I said, you know what? Fuck you, fuck him. If you can't get over that, and you can't get that out of his life, and you won't give my kid my name and take his name off it, and fuck you, and I probably said I'd break his fucking neck, because the guy's scared to death of me, because he knows I will if I snap.
Right.
And I've done very good at that. Very good at that. I actually have very little animosity towards James. He was just a guy trying to get his girl back.
Right.
He's no threat to me, other than his banditos.
Yeah.
And I just don't have a lot of problem with him. He's just an unfortunate thing that she brought into our lives.
Right.
If I saw him on the streets, I'd try to
How
talk to him.
bikey is he? I mean, how bandito is he, this guy?
Well, they won't give him a patch, because he's too much of a worm. They won't let him wear their patch, because he's been hanging out at Bobo's, their clubhouse, that I've been in 100 times. He's been living with Crud ever since she kicked him out, and riding with him ever since she bought him a Harley. He couldn't get a Harley unless she co-signed for it. But yet I've been accused of being a loser.
Interesting, okay. And so she at that time you left, and she made no calls to cops, nobody?
She called me and apologized. She took the pictures out of the photo album and asked me to please come back over the very next day, which I
Do you
refused
have
to.
any of these on email?
Yeah,
Any of these records?
No,
Her asking you to ever, do you have anything in your records that was, where she asked you to come over or spend time with her?
Yeah, I'm sure I do.
You need that.
I can show you the ones I got on this phone. I've got an old phone. Dude, let me tell you what I got. She sent me in Oklahoma an ultrasound picture where you could see his eyes and his hands a little bit, and it says, it's kind of hard to see. Here's his eyes, yellow arrow. We love you, Dad. She mailed that to me.
Okay.
I got all kinds of stuff like that,
All right.
man. And as far as what I've got
some of it.
It says, I've got one here that says, you are a great man, you are a great father and a great man on this thing. I love you, we love you, Dad, can't wait to see you, thanks for the best day I've had in a long time, blah, blah, blah.
We'll document all that using the camera. I'm gonna put you in front of the camera and you're gonna go through those and read them and date them.
I've got more,
Yeah, we need to do
and
that.
they have dates on them, and times.
Okay.
Also, it says in there that I sent her threatening texts and stuff. I have every text message, I have 183 text messages on here, I didn't know this till today. Every text message I've sent her off of this phone is on here.
Okay.
None of them are threatening.
What brand of phone is that?
AT&T, Nokia.
Do you know how to download all these files?
I know how to get the pictures off of it, but I don't know how to get the text off it.
All right. Who's your company?
AT&T,
Okay, who made the phone?
Nokia.
Okay, okay.
I have a computer whiz 15-year-old that can do anything.
Okay, well, here's the thing to do. We'll go to the internet, look up that model, find out how to download the
Text messages.
text messages, and you can do that straight away here.
And I didn't even know that till today when I was trying to find those and show you.
Great, okay, we definitely need to copy those files across.
My old
I
phone,
have a reader for it, so it probably works.
I have an old phone that has even more of the,
Where is it?
it's on the floor of my bedroom at Bill's house. It says, there's one that says, I can't wait to be your wife and have your children.
All right.
So you will.
Well, that's much less relevant because the court at this point is only concerned with.
Those instances.
Yeah, those instances, but they understand that you had you can just say in 2 sentences, you had this extensive relationship that led up to this child and that was it. There was no doubt that this relationship has been ongoing for a very long time, and that it was a substantial relationship, and that she, during this whole time, had no real objections to anything you
To
did.
you, to
And
it.
you had 14 years or whatever it was of being not a threat.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I've been her defender.
Right.
She's called me to defend her against these people. The very man she named my kid after.
Right.
I'm a fool, Steve, in a very large way.
Well, you are not the only starfish in the sea.
Yes.
Okay.
So that incident's there, I definitely was hollering in her front yard. Whether or not I said I'm gonna break his neck, I don't know, but I very well may have.
Right, but it's break his neck, not hers or.
Huh.
Okay.
I'm the only, now look, I've been with her through Alan
Mhm.
and James. Two major ones. There are a couple of small ones in between, but I know them all. I'm the best friend that they hate because she goes drinking with me. That I bring her home, and that she calls and goes and has lunch with. And we weren't even fucking until about 5 years ago.
Right. Hmm.
The first time we had sex was the day she met James.
Uh-huh. Okay.
So yes, if throwing
Right.
things is putting that.
No, it has to do with the perception of threat, because the statute says, and that's what, the only thing that counts in this case. All we're concerned about is what the statute says.
Okay.
Statute says that for her to prove the grounds for a permanent restraining
You'd be
order
happy.
is that you are an ongoing, you are a real and ongoing threat, okay? Now, there you go, have one of those, we'll have some ice cream in that. And then, yeah, we'll have some ice cream to go with it.
It's so
Take some
hard.
dates on, they're really good for you.
It has to be so hard for you,
What?
taking care of your dad like that.
I've been doing it for a long time. I took care of my grandmother 20 years ago. I came back here in '82, she was 96. And so I stayed with her from the time she was 96 till she was 103.
103?
103, yeah. So, and those were great years because she had been blind since age 52. And so, she had been blind almost as long as she had sight.
Right.
And so, but she was incredibly bright. And so I started recording stories. And if you go in the basement of the yellow house, that whole rack over there, all that is completely full of historical recordings
Good for you.
of 18,000 hours of tape,
Amazing.
of audio tape and videotape. I switched from audio to video in '82. And I'd be sitting with her, and she'd be telling me, we'd be talking about, I'd read you something out of the paper, and then she'd launch into something that happened in 1892. So I just let it run all the time. So I have an extraordinary reservoir of stories of 100 years ago, all first-hand accounts.
Right.
And then I was lucky enough, because I 2 years ago, I taught a course at CSU in doing this, how to do oral histories. So I took all the old, or many of the people from around the neighborhood here, and we had 266 students, and broke it up into 5 students at a time. And we did an hour with each of those people. So I have 52, 54 hours of stories of people right within 5 miles of here. And all their stories of struggle and the Dust Bowl and all the things that went right and all the things that went wrong. And these students were wonderful at CSU. They were incredibly responsive.
Things that most of them want to read about, but
Yeah,
they hear about.
they all said, hey, this is the best thing I've ever done in college, so.
Good for
It was a
you.
good deal, yeah, so we documented these amazing stories. So, well, I'm putting up on the web soon, so I have them all documented. So, given that, I also learned, that's where I learned how important audio and video are to court cases. And same thing just applied to me in my restraining order defense. It happened just 6 weeks ago.
Which one? I was looking for your signature. I saw that, but I didn't read it.
6 weeks ago.
Okay.
I was in that very same court, okay, defending myself against a restraining, someone who's going to go from a temporary to a permanent. And police reports, I have evidence. We went into court, it started at 4:30, and this woman had 6 witnesses, including, and plus 2 cops. So I took her to be out of there in 45 minutes, and this thing went on from 4:30 till 7:15, when she finally ruled. She ruled in my favor, and so that's how I know about this part of the law, because I had to prove up, that she did not have a case. And those points of law were that you have to establish that there is a real and imminent threat, and that this is an ongoing, it has the potential for being ongoing risk to the person.
Well, this is gonna be ongoing for the rest of our lives.
But you're not an ongoing threat.
I've never have been a threat to her,
Precisely, that's right.
of any kind.
Right,
I've been a defender of her.
right. So, but this picture has to be painted for the court. And that's why, I know this woman who was the judge in my case, so that's.
And is this Dana lady?
Yeah,
It's the same lady?
if it's Dana, yeah, is it?
Yeah, it says right there.
Well, then that's very, very good.
Let me make sure I'm getting this right, something Dana.
Yeah. That's very, very good.
Dana Nichols,
Yep, that's right.
prime name of judicial officer.
So that's extremely good.
So the thing reads as I'm an ongoing threat.
Now, the statute says,
Okay.
the law says, in order to prove to a level of certainty that the person is entitled to a restraining order, they have to show, now let's take some examples here. Some guy, you're in a supermarket, some guy comes up and just smacks you in the face. You've never seen him before, no idea who it is, they just smack you in the face. If you then, the prosecution says, well, wait a minute, this guy intended to knock you in the face, to knock you down and steal your wallet, it was premeditated, even though you didn't know that person, you would be entitled to grant a restraining order, a permanent restraining order. If somebody comes up in the supermarket, knocks you down, and you discover that they're overdose on medications, they have Downs, any kind of mental illness, then probably you're not entitled to a restraining order, because there's no ongoing threat to you. So if somebody has a mental illness, you're never gonna see them again, because they just picked you out at random, you just happen to be standing there when they were throwing their fist. So the court probably would not give you a restraining order, because there's not sufficient grounds. It wouldn't be a potential for an ongoing. Now, what we'll argue in your case is just that this is just the opposite of the intent of the law. The intent of the law is for co-parenting. And so you have a history of parenting, right? You have an interest of continuing your parenting, and that this restraining order, in fact, would have a huge detrimental effect on your parenting. Because she's asking, she's asking to keep them away from me and my son.
Where we may be 100
Anywhere
yards.
it may be, right. So our argument will be that, wait a minute, not only does this, it lacks the grounds for issuing a restraining order, but it also, in the greater context of things, would be highly detrimental to the future of the child. So now we argue that this restraining order, if it was granted, would be extremely detrimental to the child. And the interests of the child override most everything else. There's no allegation that you would be any danger to the child, there's no allegation that you would ever, and you have no history of violence toward this woman. There's nothing on file, nothing that they can. Yes, she threatened to smack the guy who she hung with after the child was born, but that's a natural reaction, so.
Yeah.
But-
Hung with hell, she named after and kept me away for 3 months.
Right, but if you wanna say anything about him, you say it off the property, that's how I throw.
I don't have anything to say about him.
But this is where our case is building now. The case is building because, one, the incident that she alludes to here was months before. That's a crucial point in this. When she was allegedly afraid back and said, got on my computer. Well, how did he get on her computer? Well, because he was in the house. How come he was in the house? Well, because you invited him in. And how come, when he started throwing things, you didn't feel threatened enough to call the cops? Well, she didn't, right?
No, because she knows I'm gonna hurt her.
Right. So this is what really torpedoes her own argument here. Had she, based on your previous relationship, had she a genuine fear of you or any of your potential activity or your behaviors, she would have reacted at that time. Because this is far more serious than you just showing up at the new house. This is way more serious, according to her. According to her, this was a much more serious incident than when she saw you 2 months later, or 3 months, or whatever it was. She was not moved to call the cops the first time, when something more serious was happening. And when something less serious is happening, she calls the cops. So we're going, wait a minute, you know, this doesn't make sense. If she had a genuine fear, she had that period of time in between to take action. She did not take action. She could have, but she
She
didn't.
made up with me, took the pictures of the photo album and had sex with me. That's how scared she was.
Okay.
She took the photos out of the album and made sure that I saw that, told me she did it,
Okay.
apologized, made
So-
up.
So you have cohabited with her since this incident?
I've never spent the night in her house.
Okay.
She's made sure of that, that's what I'm
Right,
saying.
right.
She's
But
made sure
but
of
you
that.
spent time with her after this event.
Definitely, you bet, in the house with our kid, out
Convivial
there.
time. After this, you spent time together with the child.
Oh, you bet.
How much time after this happened? How much time cumulative did you spend? And were you seen together in public? Did you go places together? Did you go to McDonald's?
We
Did you
went
do
to
any
the
of that
stock show,
Oh, all right.
we, had
All
lunch.
of that happened after this? After this 2 months ago thing? January.
When was the stock show?
Well, we can't have
January
our
23rd, 25th, 27th, 29th, in there. And this happened, because, and this happened when, again?
I can find out.
It
What
sure
was the
is
key to
happening.
that
I got on
date?
my computer and drew it.
And she knew I was getting the computer, she knew I was gonna show her that
We
CD.
need to know when this was.
Her diary will say. Matter of fact, won't let her say.
But this is before the stock show?
Can't remember, it was right around that time. We have been out since that occurrence.
That's not-
We have had sex since that occurrence. How about that?
All right, that ends her case.
And I cannot believe anybody did these things.
Her case, they're really good for you. You develop a taste for them.
She was very apologetic, she took the photos out, she was sorry, she wanted to fix things, she understood why that upset me, and she would never say that she's gonna not talk to the man whenever she wants, or have him see my son whenever she wants. She's very, very apologetic for those photographs.
So she banged on you here saying, hey, you did this, and then she banged you, so it's like, okay.
I don't write stuff down, but let her bring her own notes and they'll hang herself.
Okay, well, we have to subpoena them.
I bet she'll bring them to get the dates, she'll bring them with her, or she'll use that book to get those dates.
Well, our argument to the court, our argument will be, because we'll call her to testify, but it will be, all of this comes up. Here's how it goes. She has her chance to make her case, right? And she's gonna have to come up with, whatever she's gonna come up with. But the point about this, and why going to court on Monday is insane, is because she has to disclose all of her discovery to you before the court,
For this hearing,
yeah,
right here, I
right,
get a
yeah.
disclosure.
She has to tell you everything, all the evidence that she has, that she's gonna use in this.
For just this temporary restraining order
Yes,
hearing.
this is not a temporary, this is a permanent restraining order here.
We might do the
all she had to do is walk in and write this and give them money, and then that's the temporary restraining order. Anybody can get a temporary restraining order for almost anything, ever.
So what we're actually basing here is a permanent restraining order.
Yeah, permanent restraining. She's trying to
Yeah,
make this permanent, so that from now until forever.
I have to be 100 yards away from my son.
These are lifetime, these are lifetime
I
orders.
got
Okay.
get around it, okay?
Okay, which brings me to the relevance of the restraining order that my ex got against me,
Yeah,
that to this day prevents me from legally buying a firearm,
okay.
that she has
Fire
emailed you and me umpteen years later.
Right.
It
To
says,
undo it.
this was just my boyfriend and his attorneys, I
Right.
never felt
Right.
threatened by
Yeah,
this.
that's good.
And he never did anything we said he was gonna do. Lisa has always said, and especially
Decided you
when I
can't
came
go
back
back.
after she was pregnant and living with James, that I would come here and I would come to her house and cause problems, that I would beat James up, and I would harass him at work, I would harangue them, I'd do anything I could to mess them up. I've never done any of that.
Right.
So,
Well, all right, so my assessment is that you made a mistake by ever having any course, any loud conversation with her. But it was a minor mistake compared to her mistake of providing this information without context, which is to say, she's trying to dredge up something that she did not herself take action on. So she has screwed herself here
good.
on the basis that she cannot now claim,
Yeah, that's right.
she's afraid, 2 months, she cannot now in any credible way claim that she.
Was afraid
she has-
then.
She's afraid now, she was afraid then, but in between, she hasn't been afraid at all,
She never has been afraid of me.
so,
She knows she's safe.
alright, so, it'll take some time to write all this up, but now I know the full story.
Not really, but you've got a big piece of
Well,
it.
I know what count, at least I think I've got enough here
That's,
to box in the situation. And so that any attorney, I don't care who it is,
how we go to,
um,
I said,
given what I'm gonna write, can then call the other side and say, you know, here, and cause it's part of the disclosure, right? No,
she's hard.
we are gonna be challenging your client on, in terms of her credibility with respect to fear. And if you have anything that can counter that, send it to us before trial, cause we need to know.
Encounter that she's afraid of me?
Well, no, see,
And can't,
we will say, based on what we have here, that she's not showing any cause, she's not showing any reason that elevates the level of concern enough to provide even a restraining order of any kind.
Of any kind.
Right. But if she has anything that she hasn't disclosed, tell us now.
we had been,
The fact that she didn't tell us in this document says to us, there's nothing else to tell. And I think that, and that's where that we create this catch-22. Is this as bad as it ever got for you?
and I
No.
went.
We've had some dragouts where she's drunk and trying to claw my eyes out, and I'm trying to stay alive.
Right. But no, from her, we're asking her, say, is this as bad as it ever got for you? And if so,
Yeah,
is this it? You know, is there anything else? Is this all you've got in this
Yes,
sentence,
all.
what I'm saying? And if it is, right, then, and if you have anything else, you would have written it here, right? And she'll have to say, yeah, this is all there was. But now that we realize what her elements are here, this
Yeah.
element, this
He
is
likes
history, this
to
doesn't
read
count.
them.
Wipe this paragraph out, cause it will be embarrassing for her to say, look, you know, I was really threatened,
You
but then
go
I
back,
was
it's
unthreatened,
ready,
I wasn't threatening enough that I actually cut off the relationship at all.
No, she
I
apologized. and tried to
invested
make it
in the
better.
relationship after this.
Mhm.
The only thing that's happened since then is you went over to the house, handled your son, walked out the door, and did as she asked. It wasn't the